Captain Vexar stood on the bridge of his warship and watched the small human vessel drift through space. The ship looked broken and helpless. Its lights flickered on and off like a dying animal. Smoke came from its engines. A distress signal called out across the empty darkness. "Perfect," Vexar said with a cruel smile. His sharp teeth gleamed in the blue light of his ship's controls. Another easy target. The human ship was called the UES Meridian. It was big enough to carry valuable cargo, but small enough that his 3 warships could destroy it easily. Vexar had been hunting human ships for many years. They were always the same, weak, scared, quick to give up. "Captain," said his second officer, a tall alien with gray skin and yellow eyes, "the ship appears to be a cargo vessel. Our scans show rare metals and medical supplies in its hold." Vexar nodded. Rare metals could buy weapons. Medical supplies could be sold to colonies that needed them badly. This raid would make his crew rich and his reputation even more fearsome. The Zephrian Empire had been at war with many species across the galaxy. They were strong fighters with powerful ships and deadly weapons, but they had learned that war was expensive. Raiding was much easier. Take what you need from weaker species. Make them fear you. Build your strength without wasting resources. On long battles, humans were the best targets. They had good cargo but weak ships. Their weapons were simple. Their crews always surrendered quickly when faced with real fighters. Vexar had raided 17 human ships in the past 2 years. Not one had fought back seriously. "Move us closer," Vexar ordered. "Have the Shadowclaw and the Void Render take positions on either side. We will surround them completely." His 3 heavy cruisers moved through space like hunting wolves. Each ship was twice the size of the human vessel. Each carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The human ship had nowhere to run. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel," reported his communications officer. "Put it on the main screen," Vexar said. He wanted to see the fear in the human captain's eyes. The screen flickered to life. A human woman appeared. She had dark hair pulled back tightly and calm brown eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no fancy decorations. She looked directly at Vexar without any sign of fear. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the UES Meridian," the woman said. Her voice was steady and professional. "We are experiencing engine problems and are grateful for your assistance." Vexar laughed. The sound echoed through his bridge. "Assistance? Human, you are about to be boarded and your cargo seized. Prepare your crew for transfer to our holding cells." Captain Chun's expression did not change. She studied Vexar carefully as if she was trying to remember something important. "I understand," she said simply. "We will comply with your demands." The transmission ended. Vexar felt slightly disappointed. He had hoped for more pleading, more tears. Humans usually beg for their lives by now. "Sir, this seems too easy," said his weapons officer, a scarred veteran of many battles. The human is very calm. "All humans are cowards," Vexar replied. "They know they cannot fight us, so they give up quickly. It saves everyone time and trouble." But something bothered him about the human captain. Her eyes had been too steady, too calculating. Most humans looked around nervously when faced with Zephrian warships. They stammered and made desperate offers. This Captain Chun had looked at him like she was solving a puzzle. Vexar pushed the thought away. He had been raiding for too long. He was starting to see threats where none existed. The human ship was clearly damaged. His sensors showed no hidden weapons. No other ships nearby, no trap waiting. "Begin docking procedures," he ordered. "Send 2 boarding parties. Take the bridge and the cargo hold. Standard raid protocol." His ship moved closer to the human vessel. Mechanical arms reached out and grabbed onto the Meridian's hull. Metal clanged against metal as the docking tube extended. Soon his warriors would be aboard the human ship, taking everything of value. The Meridian was larger than most human cargo ships Vexar had raided before. It had thick hull plating and sturdy construction. The engines were bigger than necessary for a simple transport. But humans were known for building things too heavily. They wasted materials on unnecessary strength. Through the viewports, Vexar could see human crew members moving around inside their ship. They seemed to be following orders to gather in the cargo hold. No one was running or hiding. No one was trying to send secret messages. They were behaving exactly as humans always did when raiders arrived. "Boarding party's ready, Captain," reported his security chief. 40 warriors with full combat gear. The humans will not resist. Good. Remember, we want the cargo intact and the crew alive for questioning. Dead humans tell no tales about trade routes and cargo schedules. The first boarding party moved through the docking tube. Their heavy boots rang against the metal floor. Each warrior carried energy rifles and wore thick armor. They were trained killers who had fought across a dozen star systems. Vexar watched through their helmet cameras as they entered the human ship. The corridors were clean and well lit. Everything looked normal for a cargo vessel. The humans they encountered raised their hands and moved aside without resistance. "Bridge secured," came the report from his team leader. "Human captain and crew are cooperating fully. No signs of weapons or defensive systems." "Cargo hold secured," reported the second team. "Large quantities of rare earth metals and medical supplies, just as our scans indicated. The humans are gathering as ordered." Vexar smiled. Another perfect raid. In 1 hour, his ships would be loaded with valuable cargo, and the human crew would be in his holding cells. He would question them about other human ships and trade routes. Information was almost as valuable as the cargo itself. But Captain Chen's calm face stayed in his mind. Something about her expression nagged at him. She had looked at him too carefully, too professionally. Not like a merchant captain facing raiders, but like a soldier studying an enemy. "Sir," his scanning officer called out, "I am detecting some unusual readings from the human ship's reactor." "What kind of readings?" Vexar asked. "The power output seems high for a cargo vessel. Much higher than our database shows for this class of ship." Vexar frowned. "Are they trying to overload their reactor? Some humans prefer to die rather than be captured?" "No, sir, the reactor is stable. It is just running at levels that seem unnecessary for a transport ship. Probably damaged," Vexar decided. "Human engineering is crude. Their systems often malfunction." But the nagging feeling grew stronger. High reactor output, calm captain, sturdy construction. Each detail by itself meant nothing. Together, they formed a pattern that made Vexar uncomfortable. He activated his communicator. "Boarding team, conduct a detailed scan of the human ship's systems. Look for anything unusual." "Yes, sir." "Should we begin transferring the cargo?" "Wait, complete your scan first." Vexar paced his bridge. Around him, his crew monitored their instruments and watched the human ship. Everything appeared normal. His 3 warships surrounded the helpless cargo vessel. His boarding parties controlled its key areas. The humans were cooperating completely. So why did he feel like he was missing something important? On his screen, he watched the boarding party move through the Meridian's corridors. The ship's layout was standard for a cargo vessel. The crew quarters were simple and functional. The cargo holds were filled with exactly what their scans had detected, but Captain Chen's eyes bothered him. They had been too steady, too knowing, like she was waiting for something to happen. "Captain," his communications officer said suddenly, "I am detecting a transmission from the human ship." "Very brief, low power." "What kind of transmission?" "Unknown." It was encrypted and lasted only a few seconds. The signal was directed into deep space. Vexar felt ice form in his stomach. "Deep space? In what direction?" "Toward the human core systems, sir." "A distress signal." The human captain had sent a distress signal while pretending to cooperate. But what good would that do? The nearest human military base was days away. By the time help arrived, his ships would be long gone with their cargo. Unless the signal was not calling for help, unless it was telling someone that the trap had been sprung. Vexar rushed to his sensor station. "Scan the area again?" "Full power. Look for any ships hiding nearby." "Sir, we have already scanned multiple times. There are no other vessels in." This system. Scan again. Look for ships using stealth technology or hiding behind asteroids. The sensor operator worked frantically at his controls. Waves of energy swept out from the Zephrian ships, searching every corner of the star system. The results were the same: empty space. No hidden ships waiting to attack. But Vexar could not shake the feeling that he had walked into a trap. Captain Chun had been too calm. Her ship's reactor was too powerful. The brief transmission felt like a signal, not a cry for help. "Boarding teams, report status immediately," he ordered. "All secure, Captain." The humans remain cooperative. "We have found no weapons or defensive systems. Complete your scan and prepare to withdraw." "Something is wrong here, sir?" His second officer looked confused. "The raid is proceeding perfectly. Why are you concerned?" Vexar could not explain it. Everything looked normal. Every scan showed the same results. The human ship appeared to be exactly what it seemed, a damaged cargo vessel with a compliant crew, but instinct told him otherwise. Instinct warned him that Captain Sarah Chun knew something he did not, that her calm confidence came from knowledge, not resignation. In the depths of space, far beyond the range of Zephrian sensors, something stirred. Massive shapes moved through the darkness, their engines silent but their weapons ready. The brief transmission from the Meridian had been received and understood. The trap was complete. Now the hunters would learn what it felt like to become the hunted. The boarding party leader, Commander Kralanex, stepped through the airlock onto the human ship. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. Behind him, 20 Zephrian warriors followed with their weapons ready. They expected to find scared humans hiding in corners. Instead, they found Captain Sarah Chun waiting for them in the main corridor. She stood straight and calm with her hands at her sides. Her brown eyes watched the alien soldiers without fear. 3 other humans stood behind her, all wearing the same blue uniforms. "Welcome aboard the Meridian," Captain Chun said in a clear voice. "I am Captain Chun. These are my officers. We are ready to comply with your demands." Commander Kralanex had boarded many human ships before. The humans always acted the same way. They cried. They begged. They fell to their knees and promised to give the raiders anything they wanted. Some tried to hide. Others tried to run, but these humans were different. They stood like soldiers waiting for orders. Their faces showed no panic, no tears. "Captain." Chun looked directly at him as if she was studying his weapons and armor, like she was learning things about his forces. "Where is your crew?" Kralanex demanded. His voice came out rough and threatening through his helmet speaker. "Gathering in cargo hold 2 as requested," Captain Chun replied. "All 26 crew. Members are accounted for? No one is armed? No one will resist your boarding." This was wrong. Humans always ask questions. They wanted to know why they were being raided. They begged for mercy or tried to make deals. These humans acted like they had been expecting this raid. Kralanex pointed his rifle at Captain Chun. "Move to the cargo hold. Keep your hands where I can see them. Any sudden movements and you will be shot." "Understood," Captain Chun said. She turned and walked down the corridor at a steady pace. Her officers followed behind her. None of them looked scared as they walked through the ship. Kralanex studied everything around him. The corridors were wider than most cargo ships needed. The walls looked thicker and stronger. Emergency panels were placed every few meters. Everything was clean and well maintained. "This ship is built strangely," one of his soldiers whispered over the radio. "Too much armor plating for a cargo vessel." Kralanex had noticed the same thing. Human cargo ships were usually built as cheaply as possible. Thin walls, simple systems, basic life support. But the Meridian felt solid and strong. Like it was built to survive damage. They reached cargo hold 2. 22 other humans waited inside. They sat on metal crates and supply boxes. All of them were calm and quiet. No one was crying or shaking with fear. They looked at the Zephrian soldiers with curiosity rather than terror. "Secure the area," Kralanex ordered his men. "Set up a perimeter. Watch for any tricks." The warriors spread out around the cargo hold. They kept their weapons pointed at the humans, but the humans just sat and waited patiently. Some of them were even talking quietly to each other, as if armed aliens raiding their ship was a normal thing. Captain Chun sat down on a large crate near the center of the group. She folded her hands in her lap and looked directly at Kralanex. "How long do you expect this to take, Commander?" "We have a schedule to keep." Kralanex stared at her. "A schedule?" Her ship had been captured by raiders and she was worried about staying on schedule. What kind of cargo captain acted like this? "You will stay here until my captain decides what to do with you," he growled. "Be grateful we have not killed you already." "Of course," Captain Chun said politely. "We appreciate your restraint." One of the younger humans, a man with red hair, started to say something. Captain Chun looked at him and shook her head slightly. The man closed his mouth and looked away. It was a small gesture, but Kralanex noticed it. That was military discipline. Officers giving silent orders to their subordinates. These were not merchant sailors. These people had training. Kralanex activated his communicator. "Captain Vexar, something is strange about this crew." "What do you mean?" came the reply from the Zephrian warship. "They are too calm, too organized. They act like soldiers, not cargo handlers. Have you found any weapons? Any evidence of military equipment?" Kralanex looked around the cargo hold. Metal containers were stacked everywhere. Each one was labeled with contents and shipping information. Everything looked normal for a cargo ship. "No, sir, only trade goods and supplies." "Then stop worrying. Human merchants sometimes hire former military personnel for protection." "It means nothing," but Kralanex was not convinced. He had raided ships with ex-military crews before. Those humans were tougher than normal merchants, but they still showed fear when faced with superior force. These humans showed no fear at all. Captain Chun was watching him again. Her eyes followed his movements as he walked around the cargo hold. She was studying his equipment, his weapons, the number of soldiers he had brought, like she was gathering intelligence. "Captain," one of his soldiers called out, "I have found something strange." Kralanex walked over to where the soldier was examining a large metal container. The label said it contained medical scanners. But when the soldier had opened it, he found something else inside. "This equipment is not medical," the soldier reported quietly. "It looks like communication gear." "Very advanced communication gear." Kralanex looked at the equipment. It was definitely not a medical scanner. The components were too complex and too expensive. This was military-grade communication equipment disguised as medical supplies. He turned to look at Captain Chun. She was still sitting calmly on her crate, but now there was a small smile on her face, like she had been waiting for them to find the hidden equipment. "Search all the containers," Kralanex ordered his men. "Look for anything that does not match its label." The soldiers began opening crates and examining their contents. Within minutes, they found more hidden items. Sensor equipment disguised as mining tools. Computer systems labeled as food processors. Power cells that were far too advanced for civilian use. "Captain Chun," Kralanex said as he walked back to her, "your cargo manifests are not accurate. You are carrying military equipment." "All of our paperwork is in order," Captain Chun replied calmly. "I am sure any confusion can be cleared up through proper channels." "What proper channels?" "You are being raided by the Zephrian Empire. There are no proper channels here." Captain Chun tilted her head slightly. "Perhaps. But I think you will find that this situation is more complicated than you realize." Something in her voice made Kralanex's skin crawl. She spoke like someone who knew a secret. Like someone who was waiting for something to happen. He activated his communicator again. "Captain Vexar, we have found military equipment hidden in the cargo. This is not a normal merchant vessel. Are the humans resisting?" "No, sir. They are cooperating completely." "But something is very wrong here." There was a pause before Vexar replied. "Continue your search. Be ready for anything. I'm beginning to think we may have made a mistake." As his soldiers continued to search the cargo, Kralanex noticed other strange things about the ship. The walls had extra power conduits running through them. The ceiling panels looked like they could be removed quickly. The floor had anchor points that could be used to secure heavy equipment. This was not a cargo ship that had been modified slightly for self-defense. This was a military vessel that had been disguised to look like a cargo ship. "Commander, one of his soldiers whispered. "Look at these humans more carefully. See how they sit, how they watch us. This is not random." "They are in formation." Kralonex looked at the human crew again. The soldier was right. The humans were not sitting randomly around the cargo hold. They were positioned in a defensive pattern. If fighting broke out, they could support each other and control the exits, and none of them looked worried about that possibility, Captain. Chun stood up slowly from her crate. "Commander Kralonex, may I ask you a question?" "What?" he replied suspiciously. "How many human ships has Captain Vexar raided in the past year?" "That is not your concern. Humor me. I am curious about his success rate." Kralonex did not answer, but he wondered why she wanted to know, and how did she know Captain Vexar's name? He had not told her the name of his commanding officer. Captain Chun seemed to read his thoughts. "We know quite a bit about Captain Vexar and his raiding activities. The Zephrian Empire is not as secretive as it believes." "You are lying, am I? Then let me tell you something else. Your ship, the Bloodfang, was built in the Kepler shipyards 15 years ago. It has been modified with additional armor and upgraded weapons. Your crew consists of 143 Zephrians, mostly from the outer colonies. You have raided 17 human vessels in the past 2 years. Kralonex felt cold fear creep up his spine. Everything she had said was accurate. How could a cargo ship captain know such detailed information about Zephrian military vessels? "The Shadowclaw and the Void Render are your escort ships," Captain Chun continued. "Combined, your 3 vessels carry enough firepower to destroy a small space station. You believe this makes you invincible against human cargo ships." She paused and looked directly into his eyes. "You are about to learn how wrong you are." Kralonex raised his weapon and pointed it at her chest. "Stop talking." "You know nothing?" "I know that you have 15 minutes, Captain Chun said calmly. "Maybe 20 if you are lucky." 15 minutes until what?" Captain Chun smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had lured prey into a trap. "Until you discover what happens when you attack a human starship that is not actually defenseless." On his communicator, Kralonex heard Captain Vexar's voice. It sounded urgent and worried. "All boarding parties, return to your ships immediately. Our sensors are detecting something approaching, fast." Captain Chin's smile grew wider. "Actually, Commander, I think your time just ran out." In the distance, Kralonex could hear alarms beginning to sound on the Zephrian ships. Whatever was coming, it was big enough to make his experienced captain nervous, and Captain Chun was no longer pretending to be a helpless merchant. She stood like a soldier preparing for battle, and her eyes showed the confidence of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. The trap was about to be sprung. Captain Vexar stood on his bridge and stared at the sensor readings. His hands shook slightly as he read the numbers again and again. This could not be correct. "The sensors had to be malfunctioning. Report," he ordered his sensor officer. "What exactly are we detecting?" "Sir, multiple hyperspace signatures approaching our position, large signatures. Military-class vessels," the officer's voice was tight with fear. "Estimated arrival in 3 minutes." Vexar felt his stomach drop. Military vessels meant warships. Human warships coming to this exact location at this exact time could only mean one thing. The cargo ship had not been helpless prey. It had been bait. "How many ships?" he demanded. "Unclear, sir. The hyperspace distortions are very large." "At least, 5 vessels, possibly more." On the main screen, space began to shimmer and twist. Bright flashes of light appeared in the darkness as ships dropped out of hyperspace. First one, then another. Then more. Vexar watched in growing horror as a massive human dreadnought materialized in front of his fleet. The ship was enormous, twice the size of his largest cruiser. Weapon ports covered its hull like the eyes of a giant spider. Behind it came destroyers and frigates, their sleek forms moving with deadly purpose. "Impossible," whispered his second officer. "How did they get here so fast?" The answer came from the communication system. A deep human voice filled the bridge of every Zephrian ship. "This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the United Earth Navy. You have attacked one of our vessels and taken our people hostage. You have 30 seconds to release our crew and surrender yourselves for trial." Vexar stared at the human fleet. The dreadnought alone carried more firepower than his 3 ships combined. The smaller vessels moved in perfect formation around it like a pack of hunting wolves. Every weapon was trained on the Zephrian raiders. "Sir," his communications officer said urgently, "the human admiral is waiting for a response." Vexar's mind raced. How had the humans known to come here? How had they arrived so quickly? The nearest human military base was days away. Yet here was an entire battle fleet ready for war. The answer hit him like a physical blow. The cargo ship's brief transmission? It had not been a distress call asking for help. It had been a signal telling a waiting fleet that the trap was ready. "Captain," Commander Kralinex's voice came over the radio from inside the human ship. "We need immediate extraction. This is not a cargo vessel." "Repeat, this is not a cargo vessel." "I know," Vexar replied grimly. "We have been deceived." On the main screen, the human dreadnought moved closer. Its massive bulk blocked out the stars behind it. Gun turrets the size of buildings turned to face the Zephrian ships. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked his weapons officer. Vexar looked at his 3 ships. The Bloodfang, Shadowclaw, and Voidrender were powerful vessels. They had won many battles against other raiders and even some military patrols. But against a human dreadnought and its escort fleet, they would be outgunned 10-1. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he ordered. The main screen changed to show a human male in a dark blue uniform. The man had gray hair and cold eyes that had seen many battles. Stars and insignia on his uniform showed high rank and long service. This was not some merchant captain or patrol leader. This was a real military commander. "I am Captain Vexar of the Zephrian raiding fleet," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We were not aware this was a military vessel. We thought it was a civilian cargo ship in distress." Admiral Torres studied him with those cold eyes. "Captain Vexar, yes, we know about you. 17 human vessels raided in 2 years. Cargo stolen, crews enslaved or killed. Did you think there would be no consequences? We followed the laws of space salvage. Ships in distress can be claimed by whoever finds them." Ships in distress, yes. But the UES Meridian was never in distress. "It was hunting you." The words hit Vexar like ice water. "Hunting us?" "The Meridian is what we call a Q-ship, Captain. A warship disguised as a merchant vessel. Its mission was to lure raiders like you into range of our rapid response fleets." "You took the bait perfectly." Vexar looked at the human cargo ship on his secondary screen. Now he could see what he had missed before. The thick armor plating that had seemed like wasteful construction was actually military-grade protection. The high reactor output was needed to power hidden weapon systems. The comm crew were not merchants but trained naval personnel. 20 seconds, Captain, Admiral Torres continued. "Surrender now and your crews will be treated according to galactic law. Continue to resist and we will demonstrate why attacking human vessels is considered an act of war." "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the human destroyers are moving to surround us. We are being targeted by multiple weapon systems." Vexar looked at his options. He could surrender and face trial in human courts, or he could fight and almost certainly die. His ships were strong, but not strong enough to face an entire battle fleet. "Captain Vexar," came another voice over the radio. This time it was the human woman from the cargo ship, Captain Chun. "I should explain something to you. The signal we sent was not calling for rescue. It was confirming that our trap had worked." "What do you mean?" Admiral Torres and his fleet have been waiting in hyperspace just outside this system for 3 days. We knew you would come. We knew when you would arrive. We even knew which route you would take to reach us. Vexar felt sick. How? 'Cause you are predictable, Captain. You always attack the same types of ships. You always use the same tactics. You always choose the same hunting grounds. We have been studying you for months. On his screen, he could see Captain Chun standing in the cargo hold of her ship. But now the cargo containers around her were opening. Hidden weapon systems emerged from false panels. Armored bulkheads dropped down to protect vital areas. The ship was transforming from a harmless freighter into a fully armed warship. The Meridian carries enough firepower to destroy any one of your ships, Captain Chun continued. Combined with Admiral Torres' fleet, we have you completely outgunned. This was never a raid, Captain. This was an arrest. 10 seconds, Admiral Torres said. His voice was calm but final. Decide now. Vexar looked around his bridge at his crew. These aliens had followed him through many successful raids. They trusted him to lead them to victory, or at least to safety. Now he had led them into a trap that could destroy them all. Sir? His weapons officer asked. Your orders? The human fleet waited silently in space. Dozens of weapon systems were trained on the Zephrian ships. One word from Admiral Torres would turn Vexar's raiders into burning wreckage, but Zephrians were proud warriors. They did not surrender easily. And Vexar still had 3 powerful warships under his command. All ships, prepare for combat, he ordered. We will not go quietly to human prison cells. Sir, that is suicide, his second officer protested. They outnumber us completely. Perhaps. But we are Zephrian warriors. We do not bow to other species. Admiral Torres heard the order over the open communication channel. His expression did not change, but he nodded slightly to someone off-screen. So be it, the Admiral said. Fire at will. The space around the Zephrian ships exploded into light and energy. The human dreadnought's main guns fired beams of pure destruction that lit up the darkness like artificial suns. The destroyers launched missiles that streaked across space like falling stars, but Vexar's ships were not defenseless. The Bloodfang's heavy cannons returned fire, sending bolts of plasma toward the human fleet. The Shadowclaw and Void Render spread out to attack from different angles. The battle was fierce but brief. The Zephrian ships fought with desperate courage, but they were overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. The Void Render's shields collapsed under concentrated missile fire. Explosions tore through its hull and sent it spinning out of control. The Shadowclaw tried to ram the human dreadnought but was destroyed by point defense weapons before it could get close. Its crew died in a brilliant flash of light that briefly outshone the nearby star, Vexar's own ship. The Bloodfang lasted longer. Its thick armor absorbed terrible punishment while its weapons struck back at the human vessels. For a few minutes, it seemed like the raider might actually damage one of the enemy destroyers, but the humans fought with a precision and coordination that shocked the Zephrian captain. Their ships moved together like parts of a single organism. When one vessel was threatened, others moved to protect it. When an opportunity appeared, they attacked together with devastating effect. Shields failing, reported his engineering officer. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. We cannot take much more of this. Through his view screen, Vexar could see the human dreadnought moving closer. Its massive weapons were charging for another volley that would finish his ship completely, but something else caught his attention. The disguised cargo ship, the Meridian, was also moving toward him. Its hidden weapons were now fully deployed, and it looked nothing like the helpless freighter he had tried to raid. Captain Chun's voice came over the radio again. Captain Vexar, this is your final chance to surrender. My ship alone has enough firepower to destroy what remains of your vessel. Stand down now and live, or continue fighting and die. Vexar looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead or wounded. Smoke filled the air and sparks flew from damaged control panels. His proud warship was dying around him. Captain, his communications officer said weakly, The crew of the Void Render is requesting permission to surrender. They are badly damaged and cannot continue fighting. The trap had been perfect. The humans had not just outfought his ships, they had outhought him completely. From the beginning, every move he had made had been predicted and countered. All ships, Vexar said into his communicator. Cease fire. Lower shields, prepare to be boarded. The shooting stopped. In the sudden silence, Vexar could hear the groans of his damaged ship and the quiet sobbing of his wounded crew. The mighty Zephrian raiding fleet had been crushed in less than 10 minutes. Admiral Torres appeared on his screen again. Wise decision, Captain. Prepare to be taken into custody. You and your surviving crew will be transported to Earth for trial. What will happen to us? Vexar asked. That depends on the courts. But I can tell you this much. Your days of raiding human ships are over. The human fleet moved closer to collect their prisoners. As they did, Vexar realized the full scope of what had happened. This had not been a random encounter. The humans had planned every detail. They had known exactly how he would react, and had prepared accordingly. The galaxy's opinion of humans as weak and easy targets was completely wrong. These people were not peaceful because they lacked the ability to fight. They were peaceful because they chose to be. But when threatened, they became something terrifying. Vexar had learned too late that attacking a human starship was never simple. The battle was over, but Captain Vexar's education was just beginning. As human marines boarded his damaged ship, he watched them work with growing amazement. These were not the clumsy, weak creatures he had expected to find. The human soldiers moved through his ship like deadly shadows. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their weapons were smaller than Zephrian guns, but somehow more frightening. Every movement was precise and coordinated. They cleared each room with professional skill that impressed even Vexar's. Veteran warriors. Zephrian crew members, remain seated with your hands visible, came a calm voice over the ship's speakers. Anyone who moves suddenly will be considered hostile. We do not wish to hurt you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. The human who spoke was a tall woman with sergeant stripes on her armor. She entered the bridge with 4 other Marines behind her. All of them kept their weapons ready but not directly threatening. This was confidence, not fear. I am Sergeant Martinez, the woman said to Vexar. You are now a prisoner of the United Earth Navy. Are you injured? Vexar stared at her. Enemy soldiers were asking about his health. I am not seriously hurt. Good, you will receive medical attention for your wounds before transport. Are any of your crew in immediate danger? Again, Vexar was confused. These humans had just destroyed 2 of his ships and crippled the 3rd. Now they were concerned about the welfare of their prisoners? 3 of my officers are badly injured, he admitted. Sergeant Martinez spoke into her radio. Medical team to the bridge. 3 wounded requiring immediate attention. She looked back at Vexar. Our doctors will treat your people. Human military law requires proper care for all prisoners. This was not how warfare worked in Zephrian. Culture. When Zephrians won battles, they took what they wanted and left enemies to survive or die as fate decided. These humans were treating defeated foes with strange kindness. But Vexar soon learned that human kindness did not mean human weakness. Captain, Sergeant Martinez continued, you and your crew will be questioned about your raiding activities. We need information about other Zephrian operations in this sector. You can cooperate willingly, or we can use other methods to get what we need. What other methods? The sergeant's expression did not change, but something cold entered her eyes. We know about the slave markets on Kepler Station. We know about the weapons you sold to the Vrex pirates. We know about the colonies you have raided. We have been watching your people for a long time, Captain. The question is whether you want to help us shut down these operations peacefully, or whether we need to do it the hard way. Vexar felt a chill run down his spine. How much did the humans know? And what did she mean by the hard way? His answer came when Admiral Torres contacted him from the dreadnought. The human commander appeared on a portable screen that the Marines had set up on the bridge. Captain Vexar, the Admiral said. "I want you to understand something important. This operation against your fleet was not random. We have been tracking Zephrian raiding activities for 8 months. We know the locations of your bases. We know your supply routes. We know which officials in your government are taking bribes to look the other way." Vexar's mouth fell open. The humans had intelligence networks inside the Zephrian Empire? How was that possible? "We also know about the other raiding fleets," Admiral Torres continued. "Captain Drakmor with his 5 ships operating near the Vega system. Captain Yulfin with her stealth cruisers hitting mining convoys. Captain Zexkal with his heavy assault fleet threatening the outer colonies. Each name hit Vexar like a physical blow. These were classified military secrets. Only high-ranking Zephrian officers knew about those operations. Yet this human admiral spoke about them as if he was reading from an official report. "How?" Vexar whispered. "Because we are not the simple traitors you thought we were," Admiral Torres replied. "When humans decide to fight a war, we do not just shoot weapons at each other. We gather information. We study our enemies. We learn their weaknesses. We plan for every possibility." On another screen, Vexar could see human technicians boarding the wrecked Void Render. They were not looting the ship, they were studying it, taking apart weapons and computers, learning everything they could about Zephrian technology. "Your ships are very impressive," Admiral Torres noted. "Good armor, powerful weapons, but they are built for direct combat. Human ships are built for many different kinds of warfare." To demonstrate his point, the Admiral ordered a display of human capabilities. The Meridian, still disguised as a cargo ship, suddenly vanished from all sensors. One moment it was there, the next it had disappeared completely. "Stealth technology," Admiral Torres explained. "We can make our ships invisible when we need to. Very useful for gathering intelligence or setting up ambush." The ship reappeared in a different location, much closer to the damaged Zephrian vessels. It had moved without being detected by any of their remaining sensors. "We also use electronic warfare," the Admiral continued. "Watch your communication systems." Suddenly, all of Vexar's ship displays started showing false information. His sensors reported enemy ships that were not there. His weapons targeting systems locked onto empty space. His navigation computers showed him flying through solid planets. "Stop it," Vexar shouted. "You are making my ship blind." "Exactly," Admiral Torres said calmly. "We can take control of your systems whenever we want. We can make you see things that are not real. We can turn your own computers against you." The false displays stopped, but the demonstration had made its point. Human technology was far more advanced than anyone in the galaxy realized. They had capabilities that other species had never even imagined. "But technology is not our greatest weapon," Admiral Torres continued. "Our greatest weapon is how we think about warfare." To show what he meant, the Admiral had his fleet perform a series of maneuvers that left Vexar speechless. The ships moved in patterns that seemed impossible. They appeared to be in one place, then suddenly attacked from a completely different direction. They coordinated their movements so perfectly that they seemed to share a single mind. "Other species fight the way their ancestors fought," Admiral Torres explained. "They follow traditional tactics. They use the same strategies that worked. For their grandfathers, humans adapt. We change our methods based on what each situation requires." Vexar watched the human ships continue their demonstration. Some of them split apart into smaller vessels, then rejoined into larger formations. Others used their engines to create false sensor readings that confused enemy tracking systems. The dreadnought itself seemed to be in 3 different places at once. "This is not possible," Vexar muttered. "Ships cannot move like that." "Human ships can," Sergeant Martinez said from beside him, "because we design them to be flexible. We train our crews to think creatively. We do not limit ourselves to old ideas about how space combat should work." The demonstration continued for 20 minutes. By the end, Vexar realized that his understanding of warfare was completely wrong. He had thought that the side with bigger ships and more powerful weapons would always win. The humans had shown him that intelligence, creativity, and superior technology could overcome raw force. But the most disturbing revelation was still to come. "Captain," Admiral Torres said, "I want you to understand why we went to all this trouble to capture you alive. We could have destroyed your ships from long range. We could have used stealth attacks to eliminate your fleet without warning. We chose not to do those things." "Why?" Vexar asked. "Because we are not conquerors. We do not want to rule the galaxy or destroy other species. We want to live in peace and trade with our neighbors. But when someone threatens our people, we respond with overwhelming force." The Admiral's expression became very serious. "You and your raiders have killed hundreds of human civilians. You have destroyed billions of credits worth of cargo. You have enslaved innocent people and sold them like animals. This cannot continue." Vexar felt fear growing in his stomach. "What do you plan to do?" "We are going to end Zephrian raiding operations permanently. Not through invasion or conquest, but through demonstration. When word of this battle spreads, other raiders will think twice before attacking human ships. One battle will not stop the entire Zephrian fleet." Admiral Torres smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "This is not just one battle, Captain. While we were capturing you, 3 other human fleets were conducting similar operations against your fellow raiders." Captain Drakmer surrendered. "After we destroyed 4 of his 5 ships, Captain Yulfin tried to run, but our stealth ships were waiting for her. Captain Zexkal put up a good fight, but his heavy assault fleet was no match for our new kinetic bombardment weapons." Vexar felt the blood drain from his face. "All of them?" "All of them. In one coordinated operation, we have eliminated the 4 largest Zephrian raiding fleets. Your bases have been identified and are being monitored. Your supply ships have been captured. Your government officials who were taking bribes have been exposed." The full scope of the human operation hit Vexar like a hammer. This had not been a simple ambush. It had been a carefully planned campaign to destroy Zephrian raiding operations across multiple star systems. The humans had struck everywhere at once, using superior intelligence and coordination to eliminate threats before they could respond. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked weakly. 18 months, Admiral Torres replied. "From the moment you raided your first human convoy, we began preparing our response. We studied your tactics. We tracked your movements. We identified your weaknesses. We waited until we could strike at all of you simultaneously." Vexar sank into his command chair. The Zephrian Empire had thought it was dealing with weak human merchants. Instead, they had been facing a military force that was far more sophisticated and dangerous than anything in the known galaxy. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you learn what it means to face humanity when we are truly angry," Admiral Torres said. "Your raiding days are over, Captain, all of them." The human fleet began moving toward the edge of the system, carrying their prisoners toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the wreckage of Zephrian ships drifted in space as a warning to anyone else who might mistake human mercy for human weakness. The galaxy was about to learn that attacking humans was the worst mistake any species could make. 3 days later, Captain Vexar sat in a holding cell aboard the human dreadnought UES Retribution. The cell was clean and comfortable, with a soft bed and adequate food. The humans had kept their promise to treat prisoners well. But Vexar's mind was not on his comfort. He was thinking about everything he had learned. A guard came to his cell. "Captain Vexar, Admiral Torres wants to speak with you." Vexar followed the guard through the quarters of the human ship. He had expected a warship to be dark and threatening, full of weapons and armor. Instead, the Retribution felt more like a floating city. The corridors were wide and well lit. Crew members moved with purpose but without fear. Some of them even nodded politely as he passed. The Admiral's office was simple but impressive. Charts of star systems covered the walls. A large window showed the stars moving past as the ship traveled through space. Admiral Torres sat behind a metal desk, reading reports on a computer screen. Sit down, Captain, the Admiral said without looking up. We need to talk. Vexar took the chair across from the desk. He waited while Admiral Torres finished reading. Finally, the human looked at him with those cold, intelligent eyes. Your government has been in contact with us, Admiral Torres said. The Zephrian Council wants to negotiate for your release and the return of your surviving crew members. What do they offer? Complete cessation of raiding activities in human space. Compensation for damages caused by previous raids. Formal. Recognition of human shipping routes as protected areas. Vexar was surprised. The Zephrian Council never backed down from other species. They were proud warriors who preferred to fight rather than negotiate. They agreed to these terms. They had little choice. When word reached your homeworld about what happened to your 4 raiding fleets, it caused quite a stir. Your military leaders suddenly realized they might have misjudged human capabilities. Admiral Torres activated a wall screen that showed images from across the galaxy. News reports in a dozen different languages were discussing the destruction of the Zephrian raiders. Some called it an impressive military victory. Others wondered what other surprises humanity might be hiding. The story is spreading quickly. Admiral Torres continued. Other species are asking questions they never asked before. If humans can destroy 4 raiding fleets in one coordinated operation, what else can they do? If human cargo ships can be disguised warships, how do you tell? The difference between a merchant and a soldier? Vexar watched the news reports with growing unease. He could see fear in the eyes of alien commentators as they discussed human military capabilities. The galaxy's perception of humanity was changing rapidly. You wanted to be underestimated, Vexar said. You let other species think you were weak so they would not see you as a threat. Exactly. It is much easier to trade with neighbors who think you are harmless. But when someone attacks our people, we show them the truth. What is the truth? Admiral Torres stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars for a long moment before answering. The truth is that humanity has survived things that would destroy most species. We have lived through ice ages and plagues. We have fought wars that killed millions. We have faced extinction and refused to die. The Admiral turned back to face Vexar. We learned long ago that the universe is a dangerous place, so we prepared for danger. Every human ship, even the smallest cargo vessel, is part of a larger defense network. Every human colony has hidden weapons and trained fighters. Every human system has rapid response fleets ready to move at a moment's notice. But you act like peaceful traders. Because we prefer peace, war is expensive and destructive. Trade benefits everyone. But when someone forces us to fight, we fight to win completely and permanently. Admiral Torres returned to his desk and pulled up another file on his computer. Let me show you something interesting, Captain. These are intelligence reports about Zephrian military capabilities. We have detailed information about every ship in your fleet, every base you operate from, every supply route you use. Vexar leaned forward to look at the screen. The information was incredibly detailed. Ship designs, crew numbers, weapon specifications, strategic plans, everything was there. How did you gather all this? We have been watching your people for 20 years, Captain. Ever since the first Zephrian ship entered human space, we have been learning about you. We study every species we encounter. We want to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their intentions. You spy on everyone? We gather information about everyone. There is a difference. We do not interfere in other species' internal affairs unless they threaten us. But we make sure we understand what threats might exist. Admiral Torres closed the file and looked directly at Vexar. Your people made a fundamental error in judgment. You assume that because humans prefer peaceful trade, we lack the ability to wage war. You confused our restraint with weakness. What should we have done differently? You should have studied us more carefully. If you had, you would have learned some important facts about human history. The Admiral activated another display showing images from Earth's past. Battles and wars and conflicts stretching back thousands of years. Humans have been fighting each other since before we discovered fire. We know every form of warfare that exists. We have practiced every strategy and tactic. We have learned from every victory and defeat. The images showed human soldiers in different time periods, ancient warriors with spears and shields, medieval knights in armor, modern armies with advanced weapons, space marines with equipment that looked similar to what Vexar had seen on the Retribution. We stopped fighting each other when we reached the stars, Admiral Torres continued, but we did not forget how to fight. We simply chose to use those skills only when necessary. And raiding human ships made it necessary. Yes, you forced us to remind the galaxy why Earth species survived when so many others did not. Vexar thought about his own people's history. Zephrians were strong fighters, but they had always fought in traditional ways. Ship against ship, fleet against fleet. They followed ancient codes of honor and established patterns of battle. Humans fight differently, he said. We fight to win. Honor is important to us, but survival is more important. We use whatever tactics and weapons give us the best chance of protecting our people. Admiral Torres pulled up one final display. This one showed current positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. There were many more ships than Vexar had imagined. They were positioned near every major trade route and colony system. This is what we did not want other species to know, the Admiral said. We are not a small, weak civilization struggling to survive in a hostile galaxy. We are a major military power that chooses to appear peaceful. How many ships do you have? Enough. The exact number is classified, but I can tell you this. If the Zephrian Empire declared war on humanity tomorrow, we could blockade every one of your systems within a month. If any other major power attacked us, we could respond with overwhelming force. Vexar felt cold fear settle in his stomach. The implications were staggering. If humans had this much military strength, why did they hide it? Why did they let other species think they were weak? Because fear creates more problems than it solves, Admiral Torres said, apparently reading his thoughts. If other species knew our true capabilities, they would either try to destroy us out of fear, or they would demand that we use our power to solve their problems. We prefer to be left alone to trade and explore in peace. But now the secret is out, partially. Some species will learn the lesson and leave us alone. Others will test us to see if we are really as dangerous as we appear. A few might even try to form alliances with us for protection. Admiral Torres stood up again. Which brings me to why I wanted to talk to you, Captain. You and your surviving crew are going to be released. Vexar stared at him in shock. Released? Yes, you will be returned to Zephrian space with a message for your government and your people. You are going to tell them exactly what you experienced here. You are going to explain why attacking human ships is a mistake no one should make twice. They might not believe me. They will believe you because you will have proof. We are returning your ship to you. It has been repaired and upgraded with some interesting new features. When your engineers examine it, they will understand that human technology is far more advanced than they realized. Admiral Torres handed Vexar a datapad. This contains a complete record of everything that happened to your raiding fleets. Technical specifications of the weapons we used. Tactical analysis of the battles. Evidence of our intelligence gathering capabilities. Your military leaders will find it very educational. Vexar looked at the datapad with amazement. The humans were giving away military secrets? Why would you share this information? Because we want your people to understand exactly what they would face if they decided to continue raiding human ships. Knowledge prevents wars, Captain. Ignorance causes them. What about the other raiders who were captured? They are receiving the same treatment. Captain Drakmor is already on his way home with a similar message. Captain Yulfin will be released tomorrow. They will all carry the same warning to their people. Admiral Torres walked to the door of his office. Come, Captain. Your ship is ready for departure? They traveled through the corridors of the dreadnought to the docking bay where the repaired Bloodfang waited. The ship looked exactly as it had before the battle, but Vexar could see new components integrated into its systems. Human technology mixed with Zephrian engineering. Your crew is already aboard, Admiral Torres said. They have been treated well and are ready to return home, but remember, Captain, this is not mercy, this is a message. What message? Admiral Torres looked directly into Vexar's eyes with an expression that was both calm and absolutely terrifying. Tell your people that humans value peace above almost everything else. We will go to great lengths to avoid unnecessary conflict. We prefer to solve problems through negotiation and trade. The Admiral paused and his voice became harder. But also tell them that if anyone forces us to fight, we fight with everything we have. We do not show mercy to enemies who threaten innocent people. We do not stop until the threat is completely eliminated. Vexar nodded slowly. He understood the message perfectly. One more thing, Admiral Torres added. Tell them that this demonstration was us being gentle. If anyone attacks human civilians again, they will discover what happens when we decide to be serious about warfare. An hour later, the Bloodfang undocked from the human dreadnought and began its journey home. Vexar sat in his command chair and watched the human fleet fade into the distance. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone was thinking about what they had experienced. Captain, his communications officer said, what do we tell the Council when we reach home? Vexar thought about everything Admiral Torres had shown him. The advanced technology, the sophisticated intelligence networks, the coordinated multi-system operations, the calm professionalism of soldiers who treated enemies with respect but fought with ruthless efficiency. We tell them the truth, said finally. We tell them that we made a terrible mistake. We attacked a species that could have destroyed us completely but chose not to. We are alive because humans wanted to send a message, not because we were strong enough to survive their anger. Will they believe us? Vexar looked at the datapad containing proof of human capabilities. He thought about his repaired ship. With its new technology, he remembered the fear in the eyes of news commentators across the galaxy as word of the human victory spread. They will believe us, he said. And they will make sure that no Zephrian ever attacks a human ship again? As the Bloodfang jumped to hyperspace, carrying its message of warning to the Zephrian Empire, other ships were doing the same across the galaxy. The word was spreading quickly. Humanity was not the weak, harmless species that everyone had believed them to be. They were apex predators who had chosen to be peaceful, and anyone who forced them to remember their true nature would regret that choice for the rest of their very short lives. The age of raiding human ships was over. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget.